All right, so here we are, James.
Yep, I got it.
I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today for the Warriors of the Wind podcast. And what our podcast is, essentially about is helping veterans stay connected with each other, telling our stories. Um, you know, we have a common bond between us as veterans, whether it's the same experience, different experiences, and everyone has their own backstory that contributes to how they interpret their experience. So, um, basically, James made contact with a local motorcycle association in the area, CVMA, Chapter 33.5, and I'm I'm not in that association yet, but I'm going to be. I'm working on getting my application in slowly, and more or less, we found out there was a fellow veteran who needed a little hand moving some stuff out of his house, and we show up on our bikes, and next thing you know, James and I are talking, and we hit it off immediately. Great guy, Navy background, so we have the Navy Marine Corps headbutting and all that going on. So it was a lot of fun just meeting the guy, helping him out, and there's so much gratitude there. But it's good for us too. It fills our soul to help fellow veterans. So, but what James agreed to talk about is something that's very personal to him. It's something he struggles with. Um, we'll get to that. But James, what was it like for you? When we first showed up, I know how hard it is for me to ask for help. What was that like? What was the process?
Well, the program is it's a HUD-VASH program, helps homeless vets. Yeah, I didn't know about it. I was told through a friend about it, and I didn't know about the help. They're the ones that contacted you for the help, and it is hard to ask for help. When they asked me, would I accept it? Yeah, my wife both looked at each other and said yes.
Good.
We couldn't do what would need to be done. She has bad heart. She got a pacemaker. I have a bad heart. She hasn't had a heart attack, but her heart has stopped. I had a heart attack in 2012. I shouldn't be here from it. 100% loss to the Widowmaker.
Certainly glad you're okay.
I was lucky to be here. I had no blood going to my brain whatsoever. I didn't have the typical heart attack symptoms. No pain in my chest, no arm problem. I had a severe migraine headache. That was it.
Okay.
That was my heart attack. A severe migraine headache because there was no blood getting to my brain.
Ugh. Well, I'm glad you're here talking to us. That's for sure.
Yeah, I shouldn't be.
Uh,
Other than all the doctors.
no, I'm not sure. I'm glad you are. Let's take that win.
Yeah, that's a win. Well, I live my life more day by day. It's like I got a second chance. Basically, I felt I was reborn in 2012.
Makes sense to me. Well, so we show up. There was probably 7, 8 of us, I'm guessing, show up to help him move, just some boxes and stuff, and then we move him back in. And basically, like I said, we hit it off. There's a video that I put out just of us talking and the other guys on their motorcycles, and people are out running out getting food and stuff. So definitely a huge team effort. Like, what was that like for you? Just all of a sudden, you're surrounded by veterans again on motorcycles. You hadn't ridden a motorcycle in 39 years.
Yeah, haven't been on about motorcycle in 39 years, so just having somebody else give me a ride with, hey, I enjoyed it. It's this is like a brotherhood, I guess you could say. It
Absolutely.
just took me back, in 1980 when I was in the service. It was just like I was a kid again, I guess. So I was 17 when I went in.
So, how long had it been since you've been around veterans like that?
Other than going to the VA hospital since 1982 when I got out of the service.
So, about 40 years.
Yeah, roughly.
So you hadn't been on a motorcycle in 39 years. You hadn't really hung out with veterans except for at the VA facilities, which is not an ideal place to do anything except for get yourself some help. But
Yeah.
um, so being back around the veterans, like I can imagine. I know how I am when I get back around my Marines. I'm just immediately, 20 years
Yeah.
younger. So
Takes me back to 1980, 82, 81.
right. Well, I'm sure glad we got to do that. I saw a big change in your demeanor at the time that we were doing that. We got a special delivery with some water so I can actually get my throat to work here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear.
again. Appreciate
Hey,
it.
she's on camera. That's my wife. Hi.
So,
Oh, this one don't want to open. There it goes.
oh, that is immediately so much better. Whew. She's a lifesaver. Okay, so we get the logistics all figured out. We move boxes out on the front porch. We throw some things away that need to be thrown away, and then a few days later the house gets fumigated, and we're able to move some stuff back in. Um, between that time and the first time, he and I also had lunch together at a pizza place in Hanford, and again, we're talking about somebody who's been away from veterans for 4 decades, except for just going to the hospital more or less. And I just can't imagine what that did for you. And then,
Well, it's pretty much just like meeting a brother again.
yeah, I love that.
We've been separated for years, and we just met up. It was, well, I'll say it. It was like an instant friendship, camaraderie. He might be a Marine, but he has sailed on vessels, I'm sure, because Marines, that's how they get around, is on our ships.
I've spent one night on a Navy ship and managed to lose my ID and get that on my fit rep, but that's a different story.
Did you get seasick?
No, not seasick. I may have gotten a little different kind of sick, but
Would anybody like to know that I'm a Navy sailor and I get seasick going deep sea fishing? I
believe
get
it.
seasick on a ship. I will get sick every time I go out, but I still go out because I enjoy it. I might catch, well, when we go fishing, I might catch 2, 3 fish and I'm done. I'm happy. That's enough to feed us for a while.
Absolutely.
But we always everybody limits out anyway, so from everybody else.
I wish I could say that. My one-time deep sea fishing, it didn't go so well for me, but I got to
I
hang out
come
with
for
my
everybody.
I'm definitely not a fisherman, but maybe someday. Um, so in the time that you and I were talking, you shared some very personal things with me, just related to your family history. I was captivated by that. If you can talk about, let's start there. You can talk about grandfather, your father.
Yeah, my grandfather on my dad's side, I'm not sure. I think he was in the Navy. I don't know what branch of service he is in, but he was in World War One. And so I'm actually the fourth generation Navy because my mom's stepdad was a prisoner of war in World War II Navy. I don't know what his rank is other than I know it's equal to the Army's Gold Cluster, Oakley.
Blue Coaster. Okay.
That's the same rank he was in the service.
Okay.
When he went in as a prisoner of war, he weighed about, I think they said he was like 280, 290. When he finally got home, he weighed 90 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah,
By the way, that's a lieutenant commander, I believe.
I knew he was an officer. He was high rank. And my dad, he was in Korea and Vietnam. He did 4 tours in the Vietnam. I guess he had a captain on the ship that didn't like to go home, so every time they needed a volunteer to go back to Vietnam, they would turn the ship around and go back. He was on the wrong ship.
But sounds like it. Um, so POW in the family, World War One, World War Two, uh, Vietnam. And then I believe you said you signed your contract at 79.
Yeah, I went in 1979. So when they had the hostage there in Iran, Operation Eagle Claw, I was sitting over in Diego Garcia for that.
Okay. So it's
So I wasn't really in a war zone. And some stuff happened when we were in Diego Garcia that I felt because we weren't in a war zone, I couldn't claim them as, PTSD or, get help for that. So if there's anybody out that says they weren't in a war zone, get help. It's there for you.
absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of validity to what you just said. And I've been involved with helping some people with that kind of thing. I know a lot of people that haven't served in combat, but do absolutely have PTSD. Um, and there's just so many layers to that. That could be a podcast all by itself, and I will probably eventually do that. Um, but yeah, anybody who knows they have PTSD and they served, and there's a lot of things that can happen, even say on Camp Pendleton or a Navy base. Lemoore Navy base is right nearby. There's a lot of things that can happen when you're in the military that aren't necessarily combat related that can contribute to mental health issues later on. So,
Definitely.
definitely, I mean, and it does. You are rated compensation for that. A lot of it, just so everybody knows that. Um, but the biggest thing is getting the help you need. It's
I'm
not about
still
the money.
fighting, but at least I am. They are getting me help.
Good.
I'm fighting. They're denying my PTSD, but they are helping, getting me the stuff I need anyway. That way,
Right. Well, at least that's great news. You're
that's
getting
a
that
step
much.
in the right area,
Yeah,
in the
for sure.
right direction.
So, as far as the things that you experienced, I know one in particular is very painful for you to talk about. I've told you repeatedly, if you don't want to talk about it, I
Yeah,
understand that completely. So something a lot of people, I think, underestimate how much it does to a person is what's called survivor's guilt, and that can come in all sorts of different flavors. Whether it's your driver of a Humvee, maybe hit an IED that you didn't see, stuff like that. He's not around, you are. Um, and when I say he, men, women, this applies to everybody, just to be very clear about that. Um, so, James told me about a story that affects him very deeply, even to this day. And, it's roughly 40 years after the fact, roughly. So,
yeah. That's my PTSD is the survivor remorse.
survivor's guilt, survivor's remorse is what we're going to talk about next. And this is very personal. I really appreciate him being willing to share this.
It's hard.
And he's doing this for the benefit of other veterans, just to be very clear about that. So he's giving up himself to share this message. I'm just very thankful for that. And I know it's tough, man. So really appreciate it. So you were on ship. Something happened.
Yeah, where I was. Oh, well, at the time I was working in deck department. I was a crane operator, rigger, and this day I was supposed to be doing the rigging for bringing on supplies, or we were unhooking a ship that was alongside of something. It could have been ship to shore power lines that we were bringing in. I don't really know what it was, but my friend wanted to trade places because he didn't want to stand duty that day. So I traded him places. So he worked in my place and I was going to work his Saturday. Basically, what it was, he wanted to be off the weekend. Even though we were overseas, they had a bar there and everything. So, yeah, I didn't drink it that much. I didn't drink at that time. I was raised Mormon. I
Right.
didn't drink then. Uh, uh, so we traded places. I was standing above the helo deck watching them work instead of working. I was watching the crane and everything. And I don't know what happened. Rope or cable or something got in a bind. They kept pulling with the crane. It just got tauter. Finally, it snapped. When it snapped, it uh, decapitated a warrant officer. I watched his head hit the deck and roll around. His body hit the deck and bounce around, blood shooting out everywhere. And cable hit my buddy in the chest, lifted him off the ground, and hurt him. I, I stood up there and it was just screaming, "Look out!" But you know, because I heard it snap, I saw it go. And a lot of people did get out of the way, but he didn't make it. They got down to sick bay. I was 4 decks above sick bay. If anybody knows about ships, the ladders aren't straight up and down. You have to go down, then go to side, then down again. They called for anybody with B positive. I was 4 decks above in a sick bay. I was the third person in line.
Wow.
I don't know how I got there that fast, but I was the third person in line. But by the time they got to me to draw blood, they said, "We don't need it. He didn't make it." And that's where the survival remorse comes in, because that should have been me. That was my duty to be there that day. What bothers me more than anything is that, and his kids lost a dad that day. His wife lost a husband because we traded places.
Well, I'm certainly no counselor, but obviously nobody knew what was going to happen that day. It's one of those things that I can understand how it affects you like that. Um, but at the same time, I think we both know it's just kind of
I,
how things unfold.
yeah, I can get my heart to wrap around it and know, you know, it's okay. My head won't accept my heart saying it's okay.
Well,
His, his kids would still have their dad if we didn't trade places. Who knows what they'd be doing now, or what they would have done growing up? Because I'm sure, 4 decades later, his kids are grown now. Did they even know they had a dad, or if they were that young, his wife might not have even told him when she remarried that they had a different dad. It's all a bunch of what ifs. And I kind of like to find out, but I don't want to bring the hurt back up. It's been this long. I don't want them to suffer. They probably already dealt with it and accepted it.
understand. So day to day, I mean, I'm sure I don't want to assume anything about how it affects you, but is this something that affects you on the daily that you just always have in the back of your mind? And how does it affect your life?
Uh, I would say for about 30 years, I was on autopilot.
Kind of numbed out?
Numbed out. Right after it happened, this is when I started. Well, I've been to captive mess twice. I've been stripped of all my rank because of drinking and drugs. And my drinking and the drug use all started because of that, because of this. That's when I started drinking. I, I stayed drunk. I stayed on drugs. I I did acid. I did a lot of stuff. Anything to numb the pain.
I oh, go ahead.
I would go literally every night. I would drink. My drinking choice was two drinks. 151 rum, Black Label Jack Daniels, a fifth every night of each, every night
For how long?
until I got off that ship in 1982. It, as long as I was on that ship, I did drugs and I was drunk because walking around, especially on that flight deck, it just brought everything back. I couldn't get off that ship. They wouldn't let me transfer away from it. That's where I was stationed. That's where I was staying. And as long as I was on board that ship, I couldn't do it. I now got out early because they said because all the drinking and drugs, they did a conveniency of the government. I had a general honorable discharge, but it was a conveniency of the government. Basically, you sign here, you can get out of the service. And it's like, hell yes, if this is what it takes to get me off this ship, I will sign. Once I got off that ship, I thought would help. No, I didn't do the drugs when I got off the ship, but as far as drinking, it wasn't quite as bad, but yeah, I still drank. Yeah, to numb everything. And like I said, after that, I don't know. I just kind of went numb, a robot, just going through the motions, doing everything I was doing. I guess it took my dad sticking me in the truck. This is where I started. He put me in the truck. Since there's a steering wheel, there's a gear shifter, there's the road. Let's go. Started driving truck. 22 years later, I retired from driving truck. But
Well,
that's where I went in motions. Just did what I did. Yeah, I had to. When every time I stopped the truck, that's when everything would start coming back in. I kind of push it away.
so you were essentially, I think I understand this from my own personal experiences. Basically, driving kind of leveled you out, and you just focused on the road, and
Exactly.
that consumed your brain, so you didn't have to think about the other things in your life that were hard.
Yeah, when I was on the road driving, it dominated my brain.
So a lot of people would call that mindfulness. That's what I would call that. And I'm just telling you right now, I can totally relate to what you just said. For me, we got back from the combat deployment. I've been through a lot of depression related issues. I've been through anxiety and a lot of things you would expect from somebody who's, been in a combat zone and lost friends and so on. And for me, I was on a constant search for things to keep me busy. So I'm relating to everything you're saying,
Yeah.
big time. Because for me, it was photography. That was a good mindfulness thing. When I was behind that camera, I'm in that world.
Well, I came off the truck for a little bit. Yeah, I went straight into cooking. Like I saying, stuff ain't busy.
Yeah.
Going in and working in a restaurant, it's being back there cooking. It keeps you busy in that kitchen.
Yeah. I mean, scuba diving was another one I did. Anything where you're just laser focused on what you're doing, like to the point where now it's motorcycling for me. And this has been the best thing I've ever found. Hence the reason I'm running a foundation that's kind of started with motorcycling. All these things that you can do that are healthy, at least, they're not unhealthy until you take it too far and maybe going too fast and stuff like that on these things. But that mindfulness is a form of meditation, whether it's called meditation or not. It's very important people understand that if you're sitting in your house, self-medicating, drinking, whatever the case may be, drugs, some people it's working out. Some people take working out way too far, 4, 6, 8 hours a day. I've known people do that. But the key to getting through some of these mental things is mindfulness and community like this, talking to people that understand. James's story is not, I mean, it's unique, it's his, but there's a lot of stories like that where, the survival skill thing is a big deal. I've had it on some small level when I saw friends that, passed away in Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm like, that could have been me. So, and I used to, pour a beer out for them and drink too many after I find out they died. But that's not a healthy way to deal with stuff. I no longer drink. It doesn't serve me. Now I channel that same basic
Yeah.
energy into helping people and talking to people and just trying to make the world a little bit better. So,
Well, like I said, when I went to driving truck, that's when, well, I got laser focused and I quit drinking. When I ended up, well, my retirement was a forced retirement. I was driving my truck. I was, well, basically doing my job, right, minding my own business, driving down the road. And a girl, that day was her 18th birthday, and evidently, I think she was on her phone planning a party or whatever, not paying attention. She pulled out in front of me, and I ran over and killed her. That ended my driving. It set me at home, not being able to do anything. My laser focus went away. All this crap in the back of my mind all of a sudden is coming forward. I literally sat on the edge of my bed a week after that happened. I found out she died. I sat on the edge of bed, not because of that accident, but because of what happened in the service. If it wasn't for my wife at the time yanking the shotgun out from underneath my chin, I wouldn't be here. I let her put a hole in the roof of our trailer because I was pulling the trigger when she grabbed it. I've been institutionalized 4 times. 3 of them weren't my choice. The fourth one was my choice because I knew I was going to kill myself if I didn't get help. And that's when I finally got the right doctor to help. They helped me. Finally got the help that I really needed. And it wasn't all medications. It was just him sitting down and, you know, talking with me like I talk with you. And I think that's why I can open up to you. He was a retired Marine. He knew. He'd been there. He'd been through it. I deal with thoughts of if I wasn't here, I'd be better off. Why don't you just kill yourself every day? They don't go away. I think about it every day.
so in the medical field, they call that suicidal ideations,
Yeah.
and it's extremely common. Um, I think a lot of veterans go through that.
Yeah.
A lot of veterans. Um, I've made it my mission in life to talk to veterans and learn what makes them tick.
That's
What
why
commonalities are there.
that's why I'm talking with him today is because if I could just help one veteran realize that there's other people that's gone through what you've gone through, there's people out there to help you get the help.
Well,
And that's why I like his foundation.
yeah, and we talked about it a little bit, but it's our podcast. I guess we'll throw a little pitch out there. Essentially, motorcycling is where I've landed as the way to kind of start a foundation. The reason for that is not because I enjoy motorcycling, although I very much do.
The freedom
It's
is there.
it's the freedom and the connection. Like, what was that like for you being on a bike or a motorcycle for the first time in 39 years on the back of my girlfriend's bike, as it turns out, which
Well,
I'm afraid
if you saw the grin on my face when I was on the back of that bike, I was happy as I could be just to ride on the back of a bike.
Yeah. I'm glad I got that video shot of us fist bumping while we were running.
Yeah.
Here, let's do one for got to blow it up. But I mean, just seeing your joy that day compared to what I saw when I first got there and we first started talking, it was really powerful to me. Oh, you want to show Ginger off on the podcast here. Come here, puppy.
Ginger, you want to come here? Come here.
So animals
Up.
are so good.
Yeah, this one
Getting through
here.
stuff.
This is Ginger. She's my PTSD cardiac dog. She knows when my heart's going to act up. So I keep her around me.
So she's your angel.
Yes, she is. She's put me in the hospital more than once.
She's a good girl. I'm so glad you have her.
Very smart. Oh, I don't know what I would do without her. I wouldn't want to find out. Oh man, now I know she's running.
It happens. Well, the foundation, since you're talking about the dog now, that's another thing that we endeavor to do is connect with, and we've already done this on some level, connect with the prison system, connect with animal shelters, and there are programs out there where a dog gets rescued. It is basically farmed out to a prison if it's the right breed and has the right temperament. A prisoner then trains said dog to not only train the dog as a service dog, but also give the prisoner rewards for good behavior and also valuable skills they can use when they get out. Um, so essentially, my foundation, I've already had the offer to be given a service dog to give to a veteran. It's a very unique breed, and there's some nuances to all that, but um, things are moving. Well, the foundation, one of our goals is to have 5 ranches at a minimum across the country. Each ranch will have homeless veteran housing and transitional assistance to get them off the streets, get them trained up, and teach them new skills. Hopefully, get them a job, get them a place to live, medical treatment, therapy, whatever they need. That is one of our big goals. So, service dogs, training, connection with veterans, homeless outreach, a connection point between motorcycle hotspots. Like right now, we're between Sequoia National Park and Yosemite, Kings Canyon nearby, Three Rivers. So we're trying to build a ranch up that we can then duplicate 4 more times at a minimum across the country to build a network. And the goal is to, at any given point, have 50 veterans at a minimum that we're helping on a rotational basis, get them off the streets, get them what they need, get them into apartments and whatnot, and back on track to reintegrate into civilian life. So, lofty goals, but they start somewhere, and you got to take it from there. So, and that's my foundation pitch. Warriors of the Wind Foundation, warriorsofthewind.org. We have a YouTube channel that we're trying to monetize to help veterans with various things, which is youtube.com/@ Warriors OT Wind. That's also on my brain is not working.
TikTok.
Instagram. We got a TikTok. It's called Dallas the Voice. That's how all this started. YouTube.com/@ Dallas the Voice is also related to all this. So we got all sorts of social media things happening, but warriorsofthewind.org, you can start there. It's got all our social media listed and some of our mission statements and whatnot, some photos. So that's the foundation. We are trying to get a lot more veterans on motorcycles because it's an excellent way to stay connected, ride to see your friends, ride together, go places. Get out in nature is a big part of this with the national parks. So
Yeah,
lots to come. Lots to come.
let any veteran know, well, especially any disabled veteran, it don't cost for you to go into these parks. You can get a card.
Right.
I have state and city. Camping is half price, but it don't cost you to get into the parks at all. You just show the card and go right through the gate.
Yeah, and they'll give you a special disabled veteran card as well. So it's definitely worth. If you haven't been to a national park, please go to a national park. I don't care which one it is; they're all great. Um, I've been very fortunate to visit several now, and every time I go, I'm just blown away by the beauty of it and the mindfulness, the meditative aspect of it. It's really important to get out in nature and just kind of reconnect with whatever your belief system may be. Whether it's a religious based thing that maybe you just like the trees because they make you feel good. But regardless,
Mine is getting out, going out to Pismo, going out onto the beach. It just, the ocean just like washes everything away.
absolutely.
Once I get out around that, in that salt air and around that water, just like everything else is just gone.
I feel that.
It's freedom, just like being on a bike. I don't know if you can ride a bike on the sand, but I drive a car on it, and I've driven my when I had my pickup, I drove it on there. So I'd probably ride the bike out on it too. Just
Yeah, get the right bike. You
every
definitely
bike.
you don't
Well,
want
it
to
didn't
take
have
my
to be a
bobber out
dirt.
there.
Yeah, lads. I mean, I'm talking about a street bike.
Yeah,
If I had a dirt bike, I wouldn't have no hesitations of taking it. I have hesitations on taking a street bike. So I plan on getting one and joining this guy.
I sure hope so. I'm stoked about that, man. I'm really looking forward to it.
I mean, well, I'll go in the car to help. There's veterans out there that need help.
Absolutely.
If I'm whatever I'm able to do, some days I'm able to do more than other days.
I
Today
mean,
I'm walking around good.
just going out and picking up some food for us, stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah,
anybody can do
I can
something.
drive the car through drive-through.
Yeah, anybody can help in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it's just listening sometimes. Definitely, if you're struggling, sometimes the best way. I mean, I run a foundation because I've been the guy struggling, and I know what it feels like to be depressed, I'm trying to get all this on television because I know how important it is for the people that are sitting there doing this number, drinking beers and whatever else they're into, to see with their own two eyes and hear with their ears that people still care. And the motorcycling just adds a layer of fun to going and doing check-ins with your friends, people you haven't seen in 20 years. You know,
Yeah,
so
people that don't even know, but yet the first day I see him, I opened up to him and told him stuff that, hell, to be honest, I hadn't even told my wife.
and
Some of the stuff I talked to you about, she don't even know about. And I'm married to her, and this is the first time I met this guy. It's like I've known him all my life. He's been there,
that means a lot.
and he's went through what I went through.
I hope you guys are taking some things away from this. Uh, Not the least of which is if you're struggling, call somebody, anybody. You can message me. I'm all over Facebook and Instagram. Dallas Poor, if you happen to not know who I am. Poore, sad but true. That's my last name. And then that joke gets a lot of traction. But then we have Warriors of the Wind Foundation. We do have a Facebook profile that I'm trying to keep updated. We have a blog on the website, warriorsofthewind.org. Um, if you need some help, you can reach out to us. We're new, we're learning. We have goals right now that we're trying to fund. But we have some really big things coming, and we're going to help a lot of people. So, James here was willing to share a story with us. I can't thank you enough for opening up for the benefit of these guys
Yeah,
because people need to know these things. You're not alone. You're not the only one going
no,
through
you're
what you're
not.
going through.
For a long time, I thought I was alone. It actually took my father-in-law, my wife's father. He's the one that told me, "Hey, why ain't you filing for this PTSD?" And what I told him is it wasn't I wasn't in a war zone. He says you don't have to be in a war zone. My God, you got PTSD. I can tell that.
That's a huge point. I hope you guys are listening to that part because that's so important. Just because you didn't combat deploy does not mean you don't have rights as a veteran and people that can help you and want to help you. So just please keep that in mind. There are lots of people that care. I know the VA sometimes gets a bad rap, but my mom retired as a nurse in the VA, and I guarantee she helped a lot of people. She's one of the sweetest people okay, she's the sweetest person I've ever known. My girlfriend's a close second. So just know that people still care about you, even if it doesn't feel like it. I promise you, there are people that will help you. You just got to reach out. Stop this isolation crap. That's what leads to the bad stuff that we hear about at the 22 a day and all the things that we're trying to get rid of.
Yeah,
Get
it's
out there and help
because
somebody.
they feel that there's nobody to help them. That they're dealing with on their own. You're not on your own. I dealt with it for, I would say, good 30 years on my own, thinking that I was on my own. And since I found out there's actually help out there, and I'm realizing there's other veterans that need the help, need to know
So,
that help is out there.
well, and make no mistake, I mean, coming and, helping you with that little stuff around your house, like, that made me happy. That made me feel good to be able to do that. And, some people hesitate to ask for help because I don't want to make somebody, miserable doing all this stuff or whatever. But the reality is, veterans helping other veterans is its own kind of therapy. There's a natural cause and effect with that because we do care about each other. It's an instant, like you said, all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're 20 again. And I feel the same way. I'm
I
45. I felt younger when I was hanging out with you too.
actually thinking the last time I was around a big group of veterans, I was saying was back then. No, it was actually, it would have been in 2010.
Can you show your tattoo off real quick? I don't know if you
Yes,
can angle that.
I got it. It's my dad was a first class diver, so it's a diving emblem. When he was born and when he passed away.
Very nice, man. I love
The
it.
last time was 2010, and what really wanted me to get back on the bikes is because in 2010 they they had riders for fallen vets. They said they were expecting maybe 5 to 10 riders, motorcycles to lead my dad to his gravesite, lead procession and everything. Well, that 10 motorcycles turned into 50. That was the last time, in 2010, there was 50 veterans there. I did talk to a lot of them, and a lot of them were Vietnam veterans. My dad being a Vietnam veteran, that opened my eyes up then. Uh, this is something even that I want to do. I haven't been able to do it. I haven't been financially been able to get a motorcycle. And it's still financially have problems. But that's neither here nor there. I'm going to get another motorcycle eventually.
I'll make you a deal, and this is public. A fair amount of people will see this. I'll make you a deal. Next time you hear about a funeral procession, and there's bunch of different organizations that do this. I rode with the American Legion on some level, or at least I went to an American Legion event, American Legion Riders, I should say, to basically, properly put to rest a Korean War veteran that had been, uh, brought back from Korea, and they identified his remains. He had two family members there. So I just, I rode there by myself, but I connected with the American Legion Riders. We had a flag procession, and it was a special day. So my proposal to you is, once we find that, if you don't have a motorcycle, we'll put you on the back of mine. We'll go together.
Yeah,
And that is a formal invitation.
hard to get a motorcycle license when you don't have a motorcycle.
Well,
I let mine go a long time ago because I felt I didn't think I'd ever get another bike. Now I want one so bad I could taste it.
well, if we end
Being
up
on the
doing
back of
this,
one is yeah, that's fine too.
all right. Well, that's my offer right now until we can get you actually on your own two wheels. But so if that ends up happening, and I hope it does, we'll make a whole separate deal about that. Not necessarily a podcast, but a nice little video tribute. So
I'm more than happy to go.
all right, we have a deal. We just got to find the place to go, connect with the right
Hate
people.
to say we want somebody to pass away so we can ride you to your gravesite, but you don't have to do it on our count.
Amen to that. All right,
We want
well,
to keep all veterans around for a while longer. You deserve to be around.
no matter what you're going through, there's a way it's going to get better. Somehow,
Yeah,
some way, you got to find the right people to talk to. Reach out for help. This
I
this to me is a great story of exactly that. And I have a friend now that I didn't have, 3 4
well,
weeks ago.
like you, I can tell this one to you. I had a lady. She was on TikTok. She was wondering, you have guys come up and say thank you for your service. How do you answer that? That was her question. She actually pulled a lot of people, and she was at the VA, and there was a World War II veteran there, And she put the question to him, how would you answer that? And he says, I thought about it a while, and this is how I answer it. And this is how I answer it now myself. Go to voicemail. When somebody asks me or says, thank you for your service, my answer is, you were worth it.
I love that.
That's a perfect way to answer it.
I love that. You were worth it.
And
Awesome.
you'd be surprised. I've had people look at it like, oh, thank you. They were stunned that I said you were worth it. Well, basically, what did we go to war for? For the people. So yes, they were worth it. My wife was worth me going to war. You were worth me going to. Well, I didn't actually go to war, but for my service. My kids, pain in the butts, but they were worth it.
Amen to that. All this resonates heavily with me. I couldn't agree more. You were worth it. This was worth it.
Yeah.
The freedom to sit here and talk. And
if I helped one veteran with this, it was worth it.
I love it. Well, Mr. James here has an appointment, I should say, here very soon. So we do have to wrap this up, but I want to thank you so much for your time
Thank
today.
you.
And this is amazing, man.
I wish we could make it longer and go to lunch again.
Well, we got plenty of time to do that in the future.
Oh, yeah.
So we're
We
about
will.
40 minutes apart, and it gives me a reason to ride a motorcycle. So that's an easy yes. But more importantly, it gives me a reason to hang out with a veteran.
Well, I won't have a motorcycle, but next time you guys go out, give me a call. If I have the car to do it, because I don't trust that one. That's my work vehicle. It has a shake in the front end, so I don't want to take it on long trips.
Let's make it a point.
I'd be happy to show up, even if it's in my car.
Three Rivers is a place that we like to go fairly regularly.
I love Three Rivers.
So there's a restaurant there, right there on the river. Let's plan on that. Sarah and I will ride out.
Know where the funeral? The funeral. Well, I guess would call it a graveyard. Is in Three Rivers.
I don't.
When you come into Three Rivers, there was a restaurant that burnt, but it's back opened up.
I'm not positive.
Right as you come in, it's up on the side of the hill, but there's I don't know how to explain how to get there. I think it's just before you cross over the bridge, or it's right after the bridge. There's a road. It's right after the bridge as you're coming into Three Rivers. There's a road that goes to the right up the hill.
Yeah.
There's a graveyard up there. There's a lot of old people buried in there. That's where my grandfather, World War One vet, that's where he's buried with him, my grandmother, and my aunt. Are all buried up there.
Let's make a trip.
In Three Rivers.
Let's make a trip. That is my invite, and it's my turn to buy lunch.
I went up there. I went up there last month. He was buried. He had his flag. He had the 21 gun salute. All of it. For a long time, when Exeter is a small town, so they didn't. Well, they had a parade. My grandfather was the oldest World War One vet. That several years every time they had a 4th of July parade or anything, he was on the float because he was the oldest living vet, World War One vet.
Man, I'm looking forward to so many more stories between us. We got nothing but time, and I live nearby, so I think we're gonna have a lot of lunches in our future.
Yeah, so I don't have a problem with that. Sometimes you need to bring your other half.
That's on the absolutely. That's on the list of things to do. So, all right. Well, I think it's probably time to sign off, get you to your appointment on time. But, and I have much to do myself. So, thank you, James, very much for your time, for opening up to our people that can benefit from what you've gone through. And just remember, mindfulness, connection, asking for help. Those are signs of strength, not weakness. It's okay to have emotions. It's okay to go through things, but you got to pick yourself back up eventually. and people are here to help you do that. So just keep fighting the good fight, and we'll keep having lunches and going to Three Rivers and doing whatever else we can come up with.
Yeah.
All right, Warriors of the Wind signing off. James, thank you again for your time, and everybody just stay frosty and stay positive. It's a good world out there.
Yeah. Get the help you need.
Get the help you need, absolutely. All right, thanks, guys. Signing off.